Hello, friends, and welcome back to another edition of Drafting with Numot. It is the weekend of pre-release for Kaladesh in paper events, so that means it's not going to be online for another few weeks, which means we are going to play some more Eldritch Moon Shadows over Innistrad. Next week, I might do one of the flashback drafts, but for now, this might be the very last Eldritch Moon draft that we do online and record. So let's jump in the queue. We're going to do one of these draft leagues. You can see we are right up there with the most undefeated trophies, but I guess that should be no surprise since I play so frequently. But anyways, let's do one more Eldritch Moon Shadows draft, and let's do this draft league and see how it goes. Stay tuned, folks. Alrighty, our draft is underway, and we've opened a pretty solid pack. 4 very good red cards in the form of Assembled Alphas, Incendiary Flow, Alchemist's Greeting, and Galvanic Bombardment, and then a very solid, 2 very solid Emerge creatures in the form of Lashweed Lurker and Wretched Griff. Wow, I think Assembled Alphas is a really solid pick here. The problem is passing 3 good red cards after the fact, which means we're probably not going to see much red in the next pack. But we might get rewarded again in the last pack. It all depends. I'm going to go ahead and take the Assembled Alphas here. It's very splashable, and it is certainly a bomb. But depending on how the signals read, we might move into a different color for sure. Alright, and it looks like we're going to follow that Assembled Alphas up with a Galvanic Bombardment, one of the other cards that was in the previous pack that we were talking about. Other good cards in this pack, Thermal Alchemist, Sigardian Priest, and Ulvenwald Captive. I think after taking the Assembled Alphas, pick one, pack one. It's definitely just the safest to take the Bombardment here and see if we can continue getting some sweet ones. But a good start to a draft for sure. Bomb 6-drop that you can definitely splash for, as well as a good 1-mana removal spell. So not unhappy with how our draft is starting off for sure. Pick 3 also has some really nice cards in it. Wow. Collective Brutality, Spreading Flames, Brazen Wolves, Prey Upon, and another Thermo Alchemist. So I think Collective Brutality is probably the best card in the pack, but it's also in the worst color. And given that we've already started with 2 red cards and we kind of want to cut off the red, I think I'm just going to continue taking the red and take the Brazen Wolves here. I know it's super awkward. I passed that Incendiary Flow, Galvanic Bombardment, yada yada in the very first pack, and then I think we passed 2 Thermo Alchemists now as well, but I think the Brazen Wolves is still going to be the pick here. Would not fault you for taking Brutality, and I could definitely see taking Prey Upon, but again, with how we've started, I think the Brazen Wolves is going to do the most work. This pack, however, we're going to have to take something that's not red. I don't think Abandoned Reason is a good card to take here. It is a good card in general, but I don't think I want to 4th pick it. We have cards like Blessed Alliance, good white card. Extricator of Sin, another decent white card. Olivia's Dragoon, good black card. Grapple with the Past, a good green card. I think I lean towards the removal spell in the form of Blessed Alliance, although it's a little bit awkward in the red-white decks because it's kind of reactive as opposed to proactive. But I think it might just be the best card in this pack, so I don't mind taking it. It is a little bit awkward with what I've taken so far, but I think this is fine. All right, next pick. Interesting. So another Dragoon. Had I taken the previous Dragoon, I really would have liked to have taken this one as well, but I think Cryptolith Fragment is another good pickup. It goes into every deck, and you're happy to get that thing rolling. Especially if you're an aggressive deck, the Cryptolith Fragment not only starts pinging them, but then if it transforms, it's just a huge beater. Let's keep an eye out on black. I think that might be open, but for now I'll take the Fragment. And a pretty awful pack here. Broad Hostility's fine. Graph Rat's filler, especially if you don't have any of the Midnight Scavengers. Field Creeper, also filler. Gyreach Sanitarium does have some merit if I'm in red. You pick up some Alchemist's Greetings and whatnot, and you can, discard them for value. But here I might honestly just take the Borrowed Hostility to keep cutting off the red and sending a signal to the person next to us. It's close. I think our deck is definitely off to a great start, but we really need to solidify what our second color is going to be within the next last half of the pack, but we'll see. All right, well, there's that Midnight Scavenger I was talking about. I definitely could have taken the Graph Rats previously and then taken this Midnight Scavengers here. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Again, I think black was being pushed my way, and I didn't read the signal initially. Other fine cards, Borrowed Malevolence, and Steadfast Cathar, but we'll take the Midnight Scavenger and get past a pack with kind of nothing. I'll take the red card here. I think Stensia Innkeeper is a fine filler card. Borrowed Grace is also a decent one, but for now we'll just continue taking the red cards. And okay, another Midnight Scavenger. Remember, we still have one more pack to go, so we should be able to see some Graph Rats in the next pack. So, not a bad pickup. Lunarch Mantle, I think, is the best card in this pack. Really solid in the white aggressive decks. And if we end up going back into white, something I will definitely look towards playing. Another Innkeeper here. Not the greatest, but Wailing Ghoul is pretty mediocre. And again, if you are able just to play like 2-drop, 3-drop into Stensia Innkeeper, you're in really good shape. So, alright, some more filler cards. I'll take Sideboard Iron Cleansing just in case we go into white. But otherwise, yeah. So the first pack didn't go great, but it went fine for us. Again, we opened some really sweet red cards, got past some decent red cards. And then I think black was open coming in this direction, so we might see a lot of black again in the last pack. But for now, we're kind of just finding our way through the draft, seeing what we open in pack 2, and gauging it from there. Okay, pack 2 has some more decent red cards in here. Our rare is Permeating Mass, which somebody on my stream named the Derp Toucher, whereas, you know, the Gnarlwood Mass or Gnarlwood Dryad has Death Touch. This has Derp Touch because it makes everything a 1/3. I think the pick here is a pretty easy Galvanic Bombardment. Spreading Flames is great, don't get me wrong, but it's so expensive, and given the fact that I already have one Bombardment, the second one gets that much better. Other good cards in this pack, Captive, Certain Death is fine, some blue cards, but happy to take a second Galvanic and see where we end up. And it looks like we're going to be taking either a Sigardian Priest here or a Alchemist's Greeting. Again, I don't have any discard outlets right now, so the Greetings aren't looking as great as they could be. Remember, I passed that Double Dragoon in the last pack, which would have really benefited from, or rather, which the Greeting would have really benefited from. I think the best card in the past is the pack in this. Excuse me. I think the best card in the pack is the Sigardian Priest, but again, we're not sure we're playing white, and Greeting is definitely a fine one to pick. I'm gonna move these Midnight Scavengers to the sideboard for now. I'm gonna focus on the red and see if we can keep finding the red cards. This pack is, wow, really poor for us, both in terms of red and black. We have Falconwrath Reaver and Thraben Foulbloods, both filler, mediocre cards. In white, you have Extricator. There's some more blue cards here. I think we're just going to take the bear. I think I'm going to go with the Falconwrath Reaver. We only know that we're playing red, and yeah, I don't feel like committing to any other color right now, so I think that's a fine pick. Ooh. So now we have some choices. Subjugator Angel, definitely great. Kessig Prowler, Tattered Haunter, Dawngryff. Again, some fine red cards that we would play, but I think we're going to lean on the Subjugator Angel here and potentially look to go red-white. Card is very solid. Interesting. And then, out of nowhere, all of this green and blue. Geist of the Archives, Noose Constrictor, Dragunder, Cultist. I don't think we were supposed to be in either green or blue. And just looking at this pack, this could be a pack where, and it obviously is, it just had a ton of good green and blue cards. So don't take this for green or blue being open. It might just be that this pack had so many good cards in those colors that it looks like that. I already have one Hostility, already have an Otherworldly Outburst. No white, like, we're not playing Thraben Standard Bearer, and no good black cards. Wailing Ghoul, again, is kind of fillery. I think here we're most likely to run a second Borrowed Hostility. We're going to go ahead and take that. I could definitely take one of the green or blue cards, because we're not necessarily locked into white either, but we'll see where that goes. Alright, Haunted Dead, a decent pickup here if we want to. Alchemist, or rather, Shreds of Insanity is great in this deck right now. We have a ton of instants and the Greeting, which is really nice with the Shreds of Sanity. But I think getting this 6-pick Haunted Dead is going to be good enough for me to take it and say we're probably going to be in black-red. Well, now that I've said that, we see a bunch of white cards here. Griff, Paladin, and Steadfast Cathar are all fine. Gavany Unhallowed is also okay, but I think the Paladin does some major work. I think it's very, very underrated. Alright, we're going to take the Fiend Binder here over Borrowed Grace. Kind of all over the place. We only knew that we were going to be in red, but the secondary color was a little bit harder to find. Here we're going to take the Guardian of Pilgrims, which is just another Find Filler 2-drop. Not quite sure if I'm super pleased with how this draft deck ended up, but again, we still have one more pack to go, and I think we're going to see a lot of red in the last pack, so hold on to your horses, and let's hope we get there. Okay, well, apparently I chose the right color because we just got a Sigardian Priest, and this is, what, 10th pick? Wow, that's kind of an insane wheel, and I'm super happy we got that here. That really helped out our deck quite a bit. 3 Iron Rice Cleansings in my sideboard. Ooh, Make Mischief, also fine. Not amazing, but definitely fine. And some more filler cards. Okay, I didn't see any other Graph Rats besides the one that I passed earlier, so... Wow, last pick Dawngriff, too. Okay, that's amazing. The wheel of that second pack really helped us out a lot. I thought we were going to be a little bit light on good cards, but getting the Sigardian Priest and the Dawngriff and some of the others really helped us out. Third pack, we opened an Avacyn's Judgment. The card is good. If you have Madness, it becomes great, or rather, Discard Outlets becomes great. I think Fiery Temper might actually be the correct pick instead, though. Because I don't have any ways to discard, I think the Fiery Temper is generally going to be a better pickup. We can probably cut the second Borrowed Hostility, too. So, passing Judgment, taking Fiery Temper, also passing some fine combat tricks like Survive the Night and Rush of Adrenaline, and then also passing Hope Against Hope and Neglected Heirloom. But happy to take a Fiery Temper there. And unhappy to take a Inquisitor Ox, which is the only uncolored card for us. I guess this pack doesn't have too many playables for other people. Just some green cards and maybe some blue cards. But otherwise, yeah, Ox is going to be the one for us. There is a discard outlet if we want in the form of Ravenous Bloodseeker. I only have that Fiery Temper and Alchemist's Greeting, but it's probably a fine pickup. I think Bloodseeker is probably going to be better here than any of these other red or white cards, although I would happily play Emissary, Arsonist, or Hellpack Wolf here. We'll take the 2-drop. Alright, there's a Dauntless Cathar, which is a great pickup for us. Just a very solid 3-drop. Passing a Moorland Drifter. Happy about that. Ooh, and a Thraben Inspector here. Quite easily. Heir of Falconwrath, Deadweight in the pack. Ember-Eye Wolf and Hulking Devil are cards that generally are your like 23rd or 24th card if you really need one. And for us, since we have Thraben Inspector, I'm just happy to take that instead. We'd probably end up running Explosive Apparatus as well, but Thraben Inspector always makes your white decks. Okay, here, another Heir of Falconwrath. Wow. Yeah, I could have had some really sick black cards. Double Dragoon, double Heir of Falconwrath. Would have been kind of good, although I still think we ended up with a pretty solid deck here. I have the choice between Expose Evil and Rush of Adrenaline, both pretty decent. What would be better in this deck? I think the Expose Evil is probably better, but Rush of Adrenaline definitely has merits. Ooh, a Reaper of Flight Moonsilver is not shabby, nor is a Vessel of Ephemera, but 5 mana, 3/3 flyer, definitely not something to be overlooked. Probably not going to start the Unruly Mob, but we'll move it to our sideboard and probably be happy with that. Need to cut a few cards here right now. I'm honestly thinking of cutting the Blessed Alliance because, again, we're aggressive, and this is a little bit more reactive than proactive. Can probably cut Make Mischief as well. That's a good sideboard card, but you don't generally want to start that main. And maybe even the Ox. It's not very aggressive, although it does have some good stats. I don't think we're going to be hitting Delirium too frequently. We have a lot of instants that can make it to the graveyard, and creatures for sure will get some in the yard, but other than that, we don't have too many ways. Like maybe get an enchantment in the graveyard with Lunarch Mantle, maybe get a sorcery in there with Alchemist's Greeting, but I think a 4-mana 2/5 is generally not going to be good enough for us. Survive the Night is a great trick. I was talking about it earlier when this pack first came around. I don't know if I have room for it here, but definitely a card I will not overlook. It might actually be better than Expose Evil. It's pretty close. Our creatures really want to turn sideways, and Survive the Night is a nice combat trick. All filler cards here. Never going to play Ethereal Guidance in my life, but hey, like, because it's a draft league, there's no point in hate drafting. Odds are you are not going to play anybody in your pod, so you just want to draft and stay open, which is why I was so crazy in the first pack. Not really committing to anything in our colors, but this should be fine. Again, I think our deck ended up completely reasonable. We have some nice bombs in the form of Assembled Alphas, and I'd call Subjugator Angel like a mini bomb. We have good removal, Alchemist's Greeting, Fiery Temper, double Galvanic Bombardment, and even a Sigardian Priest to tap down, and then just good curve, solid filler creatures. So overall, not a bad draft. I do think there were some very interesting choices to be made in the first two packs. Like I had mentioned, black seemed open, but I did not jump on it soon enough, and then I just committed to red-white. But overall, I think it went fine, and you can definitely learn something. So draft starts immediately, or rather deck building starts immediately. Like I said, I think these are all fine, but more sideboard than anything else. Worst card in the deck is probably Stensiate Innkeeper. I don't think any of these cards make room for it, though, because we do want to have a decent creature count. So we're just going to add basic lands. This says 9/8 in favor of white. I think I actually want to go a little bit heavier red here, just because we have so much red trickiness, all of the instants, the hostility, the double bombardment, the fiery temper, and then we have some double red as well. Although we do have more double white, but that's not until turn 5 at the very earliest. So let's go 9/8 here in favor of red. Save the deck and submit it. And we'll see you guys back for round 1. Alrighty, here we are for round 1 of our red-white league draft deck. We're going to play first. And yeah, this hand is fine. A little bit land heavy, but obviously very, very solid. Got a Galvanic Bombardment, good mana, and a 2-drop and a 3-drop to curve out. So certainly something we're gonna hold on to. Leading with the Bombardment for obvious reasons, although there aren't many 1-drops that you're gonna really bombard, but you never know. Alright, another Plains wasn't what we were looking for. I think we can go without drawing a land for quite some time. Primal Druid. A little bit annoying. I'm gonna go ahead and attack in, see if the opponent blocks. Almost certainly do, because if I kill it, they do get value. Alright. Some burn in hand. What we were really missing was the choking restraints. I'm not sure we saw any choking restraints. Maybe one out of the first 2 packs, which is sad. Alright, Steadfast Cathar, not too much of an issue. Looks like we're just going to be bashing in the air here. I'm a little bit tempted to just bombard the Steadfast Cathar right now, because I'm not blocking it. But I suppose it being a 2-damage creature, or 2-power creature, is not going to be the worst for me. Alright, a Briarbridge Patrol to follow up by the opponent. We're probably just going to Fiery Temper the Patrol here at end of turn. Look to draw some more gas. Right now we're not really putting under much pressure to the opponent, which is what we want to do, obviously. Keep bashing in with the Griff. We're going to play our land prior to playing the Innkeeper so that we can still hold up a red. And there are more double green cards in the format than the double white. You got things like Stag or Spirit of the Hunt, whereas with white, you don't find the double white cards until like 6 or 5 mana, and so tapping down an opponent's land means they only have access to 4. So I think that's okay to do. Stensiate Innkeeper can attack through the Primal Druid. I'm not too enthralled with our position. I'd like to draw, like, Lunarch Mantle would be good. Some more aggressive creatures. Ooh, a Hope Against Hope from the opponent here. We gotta kind of wreck them. And now we get to start bashing in when they only have a Primal Druid. How's that for a draw? Perfect turn 6 assembled alphas. Don't mind if I do. I'm going to go ahead and bash in with everything here. If the opponent wants to block the Innkeeper, then we'll get in for 2 extra points of damage. If not, that's fine with us. I assume that was the best draw in the deck. Assembled Alpha is going to do some real work. In white-green, opponent needs, what? Humble the Brute, Choking Restraints, Bound by Moonsilver. The green removal the opponent doesn't have access to because Prey Upon, Rabid Bite, Clear Shot all require a bigger creature for the opponent to kill the alpha. So looks like the opponent's just going to scoop it up here and we're going to win the first game pretty handily. All right, well, our hand wasn't the greatest to start things off, but it definitely got there from the top decks. Opponents on white-green. They had Primal Druid in their deck, though, which is a little bit interesting because white-green is generally humans, which, while Primal Druid is a human, you're not really emerging much stuff, generally speaking. I don't think we want to necessarily bring anything in. Again, the Expose Evil seems fine. Another Borrowed Hostility to kind of get through their creatures also seems okay, but I think we'll just run it back and see what the opponent does. All right, here we are for game 2 of round 1 of this Eldritch Moon League. We are going to keep this hand, obviously. Got a nice 2-drop, 3-drop curve, 3 lands. Island Explosive Apparatus from the opponent. Interesting. We actually have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 curve now if we just draw some more lands, so that's kind of sweet. Opponent could be splashing for like Altered Ego or Ongoing Investigation, stuff like that. Alright, looks like they're just going to immediately use the Explosive Apparatus. I think I would have waited there if I was the opponent after seeing Dawn Gryphony the previous game, but to each their own. Alright, Stensia Innkeeper going to tap down their island. I'm actually going to do that prior to combat in case they have a Swift Spinner. I don't want to run my Dawn Gryph into their reach creature if they have it. Nebelgast Herald. Okay, same difference. They would have tapped it down pre-combat anyways. No big deal. And we have a Galvanic Bombardment to deal with that. Fork in the road. I would assume the opponent's going to be getting a Plains here since we saw white from them in the previous game. And indeed that is the case. Alright. And a Steadfast Cathar. Okay, so the opponent could be splashing Tamiyo. They could just be straight up 3-color. I don't really want to offer the trade of Dawn Gryph there. I think we're just going to attack with the Innkeeper. If the opponent double blocks, we can 2-for-1 him with the Galvanic Bombardment. But I'd rather just develop out my Faithbearer Paladin. If we don't draw a land next turn, we get to Thraben Inspector, sack a clue, bombard the Herald, and still have the flyer to get through. Well, just like I said, there's the Tamiyo. So the opponent chose to do the plus mode, choosing both my Faithbearer Paladin and my Stensia Innkeeper. So if either of these deal damage, then the opponent's going to draw some cards. So let's go for a bombardment here on the Herald and see if they have a pump in response. If they don't, then I get to kill the Tamiyo here. At the price of giving the opponent 2 cards, but I think that's obviously worth it. And then we can Innkeep, and I think we're going to tap down their Plains since we saw... Well, no, I saw a lot of green creatures from them. I guess tapping the island or the Plains is arguable, either one. Opponent probably should not chump here. They do get to cycle their 2 cards, though. So Tamiyo gained the opponent a bunch of life and drew them multiple cards. I'm going to go with the white here over the blue. Again, I think it was up for grabs which land it was better to tap, and I guess the opponent just had enough. So it's going to be the game there, and we win the first match. Let's keep it rolling and see if we can win the next 2. All right, round 2 here with our red-white deck in this league draft. We are going to play first, and Unfortunately, I think we have to mulligan this hand. We're looking to curve out with this deck, and Assembled Alphas is our very, very top end. Even though we have a lot of land and both colors, I think we got to ship it down to 6. This is better, just because we have something to do before turn 6. We do get a Scry, we have a removal spell in both of our colors. We'll go ahead and bottom that mountain, though. Aren't looking for that many lands, and the only double red card we have is Fiery Temper, so not too much of an issue. Hopefully we can draw some more gas, some more business. Uh-oh. Well, I'm pretty sure I bottomed that mountain I scryed, so might be flooding out a little bit here. We did, in fact. That means we had 3 mountains on top of our deck. At this point, we can do nothing but hope we draw spells, because we have as much mana as we need. Okay, so 4 mountains were on the top of my library. I scryed one of them to the bottom, and then we drew 3 in a row. Quite gross. Gonna take 2 damage here. I would assume the opponent's playing some amount of Emerge, which means we might want to bring in the Blessed Alliance, because they're going to play a lot of larger creatures. Alright, let's go to combat. Might get a Swift Spinner here, but we drew the Borrowed Hostility to get that. Could also have a Pack Guardian end of turn. Or nothing, which is good for us, obviously. Because we're flooding out quite a bit, really need the opponent not to have much. Currently we're on 7 lands and 3 spells. Rabid Bite, and there's nothing I can do about that. If I had a Galvanic Bombardment, that would have been nice. Let's draw that alpha now. Fiendbinder. Alright. Now, beggars can't be choosers, and we gotta play what we have. Again, hoping the opponent doesn't have much. A lot of potential cards they could be splashing for. Not gonna block here, obviously. 6 mana on the opponent's side. I think if they had an Emerge creature, they would have already cast it out. But maybe if they have Griff at this point, they just wait until they can draw 1 more land to hard cast it out. Somberwold Stag. Alright, if the opponent wants to do that, I'm completely fine. Looks like they just want to develop out a 4/3 though, which is also understandable. At this point, I wonder. I'm going to go ahead and offer the trade here. If they block, I'll use Borrowed Hostility. If they don't block, I think we're okay to play the Reaper out. We can still hold up Borrowed Hostility for first strike if necessary. Although I think I might want to hold that off for combat purposes. Pre-combat spells probably not good for us. Ooh, Imprisoned in the Moon. Alright. We'll take 6 here, fall down to 8. Yeah, probably going to need to greet the Somberwold Stag here. Although I could definitely play the Innkeeper instead. Because the Innkeeper holds off the Cultist and like taps down one of their lands. And I'd rather hold the greeting for, say, a flyer of some sort. So we'll tap down their swamp. And see what they do. Because it can just trade with the Stag, or it can just eat the Cultist. Both players seem to be flooding out a bit here. Nebelgast Herald main phase to tap down my Innkeeper. Okay. I'm actually 1 damage short of killing the opponent if they attack with both their Stag and their Cultist this turn. Which I think is completely correct, because now I'm dead to the flyer on the following tack. And Plains is not what we were looking for, so gonna have to use the greeting here on the flyer and pass the turn. Essence Flux. Alright, well that's actually gonna kill us. Yep, just needed to draw a spell or two a little bit sooner. Opponent's deck seems fine, though. Not amazing. Blue-green, splashing for some black card. We saw Herald, which means Make Mischief is a potential. But I also think the Blessed Alliance is going to be good in this matchup. Can probably take out the Borrowed Hostility instead. So things are potentially splashing for, I would imagine, like Dark Salvation. But who knows? Alright, so let's take out the Hostility, bring in the Alliance, and we'll submit from there. Alright, game 2 here. We are down a game in our second round. We're going to play first again, and oof. Another really poor hand for us. Although I'm going to keep this one now, knowing what my opponent's on a pretty slower deck as well. I think this is completely fine to keep. Obviously not ideal, and I do need to still draw 2 lands to even cast the Alpha. But again, given what we saw from the opponent in the previous game, I think it's a fine keep. Although, now drawing the Faithbearer Paladin, and we've drawn all of our top end. If the first thing we cast in our aggressive red-white deck is Faithbearer Paladin, that's not a good sign. The opponent's not doing anything either. This could just be the Nebelgast Herald. Dawn Griff right on time as usual. Turn 4. I'm going to assume this is the Nebelgast. Oh, they didn't have anything though. Okay, that's really good for us. Like I said, the opponent was also on a slower deck, so. Tangleclaw Werewolf. Gonna bash in with the flyer here. And I think we're just gonna play another flyer out. Since we were first on the board, we can put the pressure on the opponent to do something. We did see Stag from them last game, which they could definitely have for Griff. Did I see it? I didn't see any combat tricks. This is definitely a free roll from the opponent. But I think I go ahead and block. Because if they do a trick here, then they're not casting a spell. Yeah, and they didn't have anything. It was just an Identity Thief. Which is also kind of bad, because now I don't really want to play my Assembled Alpha out. But in all honesty, what else am I doing? I think we go ahead and do it. We keep the pressure on. I'm going to be taking 7 this turn. I think this is a way that I can lose, but what else am I going to do? Like, just play the Faithbearer Paladin there? That doesn't seem ideal to me. This is going to be a interesting game. Very quick game. Interesting game. Ooh, are they leaving the Tangleclaw back to block? I would be very happy with that, dang. Alright, so we'll take 7. We'll go to 13. We have to play a little bit cautiously now. I think I might have just given the opponent an out for winning. No plays, so they might Nebelgast me. Reaver was actually a fine draw. Alright, there's the Nebelgast. Tap the Alpha. I'm still going to get in with both my creatures here. If they want to trade with Herald, I'm fine with that. This is fine. And then we'll play our Faithbearer out. So if they want to attack again with the Identity Thief and make it an Assembled Alphas, their Tangleclaw doesn't attack very profitably, and we can always block with Faithbearer if we need to. Like I said, this Assembled Alphas might be our undoing because of that Identity Thief. I don't think Identity Thief is that good of a card. In fact, I think it's quite poor, but it seems to be okay in this situation. Mainly because I just played something huge. and we're kind of racing. I suppose I should have left up a red to feign a Galvanic Bombardment. Not that that's entirely relevant, excuse me. Opponent's got 6 cards in hand. A lot of options on their side of the board, I would imagine. Alright. Both creatures coming in. Let's see if they take the Assembled Alphas again. This time they're going to take the Faith Bearer, so they're going to gain 3 life, but only deal me 5 this time. This opponent still wants to race a little bit, it seems. Let's see what the opponent's follow-up play is. 5 mana. I'm a little bit scared. A little bit worried. I mean, I have 11 damage coming back on the swing back. We will see. Oh, is this Ruthless Disposal? This totally looks like Ruthless Disposal. Okay. Not bad, opponent. Not bad. Not shabby for us. We actually had some pretty good draws here. Alright, so we'll swap life totals with the opponent and then play the Brazen Wolves and the drawn Sigardian Priest. Well, we found part of their splash, if not all of it. But now the Sigardian Priest looks to hold us. Hold us in a good position. To note, if the opponent steals my Brazen Wolves with their Identity Thief, it's only a 2/3 because the creature will already be attacking and they'll miss out on the trigger. I would assume they just steal the Faithbearer Paladin again. But this is problematic. Now that the opponent's going to be potentially gaining 6 life, they've already gained 3 with the Faithbearer and 3 again potentially this turn. They're going to start playing their bigger creatures, which are going to trump my red-white weenies. Like, can you just imagine this game had I gone turn 2 Reaver, turn 3 Brazen Wolves? It's probably already over, right? But I opted to keep a hand with Assembled Alphas, Reaper of Flight, Alabaster, or Moonsilver, or whatever it's called, and survive the night and lands, so. Oh, that's gross. Alright, there's the stag from the opponents. Brutal. Fortunately for us, we're going to attack with the Faithbearer Paladin next turn, and I assume they're going to block and we get to survive the night, but pretty gross. Ooh, Lunarch Mantle's also an interesting pickup. In fact, I'd probably just go with Lunarch Mantle here now and hope that the opponent doesn't have any bounce or anything. I'm going to play the Reaver out. It's unlikely the opponent is going to have a kill spell for Faithbearer. We saw Rabid Bite from them last game, but that doesn't deal with it. And we get to tap down the Identity Thief so that it doesn't steal my Lunarch Mantle. Drop it off. We potentially have lethal next turn. Although we know the opponent has 4 spells in hand, which is gross. We'll see, though. Somberwald Stag, very good card. Right, Stitched Mangler from the opponent. That's kind of annoying, certainly. We'll see if they want to tap down my Faithbearer. Of course they do. And do they have a Rabid Bite to go along with it? Ghostly Wings! Okay. Interesting. So I think I still tap down the Identity Thief here. Let them hit me for 2 this turn, or 5 rather, this turn. And we are kind of in a racing situation. Plane's not the card we were looking for. Yeah, I have lethal next turn with the Faithbearer Paladin. So I'm going to go ahead and attack now. And again, tap down the Identity Thief. If they have 1 more point of damage, I lose. But if they just take a hit from the flyer, that will be game over. Getting a little bit greedy here. I am definitely getting a little bit greedy here. Because I can fly the Faithbearer next turn and survive the night for 6 points of damage. Hopefully this works. Again, 2 spells in the opponent's hand. But not much I can do about that. We're going to have a close one, kids. Oh, they're tapping very quickly. That's not good for me. Hopefully it's just a Wretched Griff. Oh, is this Dark Salvation? Dark Salvation on my Sigardian Priest? Altered Ego? I wonder if they copy the Stag. This feels like a situation where copying Stitched Mangler. Wow, they could copy Stitched Mangler. Oh, they are going to copy the Stag. Okay, so we don't actually win if they fight my Faithbearer Paladin. But they're fighting the Sigardian Priest, though. Wow, so I get to tap down the Identity Thief. And I think they probably attack with their Stag at the very least. Oh, darn, they didn't. Okay, well, the opponent played it smart then. I could have used Survive the Night on my Sigardian Priest to save it. But then we wouldn't have lethal. So I force them to chump my Faithbearer Paladin. In fact, I just attack naturally with Faithbearer Paladin. I don't even give it flying anymore. What a sick game this is. They're just chumping. So I don't even need to use the Survive the Night now. Huh. Oh, I see. I see. Smart play from the opponent. Right. They're bouncing it back to their hand. Am I actually just dead now? They steal one of... No, I'm not dead. I'm not quite dead. But they stag my Reaver, and I have to use the Survive the Night. And then Identity Thief steals, like, the Paladin or something. Oof. Really interesting. So what if I had used Survive the Night on Sigardian Priest? What happens there? Again, then Identity Thief gets... No, because then I can still tap down. Interesting. Wow, this game is weird. I think I misplayed. I think I could have... I mean, I could have brought the opponent to 1 for sure, but... They're fighting the Fiendbinder? Why would they try to fight that instead? Okay. Well, I have to protect it, because that is lethal. And remember, the opponent doesn't have to fight the Stag, because it's a May ability. But I have to react, because I cannot let them do that. And again, I think they have to steal my Sombra, or my Paladin here. But I get... So this is kind of a poor play on the opponent's part. Like, yes, they get rid of my mantle, but my Fiendbinder is still indestructible. And so now I'm still in a decent position. Ooh, and I drew an Alchemist's Greeting. I'm very close to just killing the opponent here. I guess we sack a clue and see what we have first. Innkeeper, not the greatest, but fine. So let's greet their stag. And I can attack in with both of these, tap the stag. I'm going to go up to 9 life. I assume the Mangler blocks the Fiendbinder here. No blocks? Okay, so if the opponent has a way to deal with Reaver, I die, but if not, then I'm going to win the following turn. Oh, and the opponent had another Nebelgast Herald to finish off the game. Wow. Come on with that. Crazy. All right. GG's. I think I might have misplayed there somewhere because of that Identity Thief, but definitely a good game. Really could have used one of those. So we are now 1-1. Let's play for 2-1. Don't go anywhere. All right, here we are for the third round of this league draft. I'm on the draw, and I think this is a keep on the draw. We have a 2-drop. Oh, opponent just skipped their turn for some reason. And a lot of room. Okay, I don't know what the opponent's doing over here. They just went to discard. What? Well, I'm not drawing lands, but I don't know what the opponent's doing. Although as soon as we draw a mountain, we're in great shape. Yeah. I'm very confused. The funny thing is, I can still lose this game if I don't draw a land, specifically a mountain, very, very quickly here. We'll see if I lose, even though the opponent double time walked. Or I got to double time walk off the opponent. That would be a one for the story. For the storybook. For the papers, I guess is what they say. Skip your first 2 turns, still crush the opponent easily. We'll find out if I can draw that mountain. Come on, baby, give me a mountain. Oof. All right, this is how it might end. 7 red cards in hand. No mountains. There were no mountains in the top 11 cards of my library, apparently. And I have 8 in the deck. This could be it for us. Oh boy. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I mean, I'm happy the opponent's making this block. Means we don't have to go to discard. Well, if I don't draw a land next turn, I can always sacrifice my clue to get an extra draw. Oh, the punishment is real. The punishment is absolutely real here. Inquisitor's Ox, all right. Like I said, we're still okay if I draw a mountain. We've got a lot of action in hand and a lot of removal. There it is. Phew. All right, so we're just gonna jam the Innkeeper here. Tap down their one of their swamps. Take off their murder mana and whatnot, and I would hopefully assume stabilize. This is a very easy block here for me. Opponent's going to be forced to use a trick or pump, which means they're not using their turn very effectively. We'll see what they have, though. Yep, and it just looks like a pump, so we're going to trade here. And we drew another mountain. Good news for us. We'll play the Brazen Wolves out and hold up the Sacrifice Clue. I don't want to attack the Pilgrims and be forced to use my Borrowed Hostility. I don't think that's worth it. I think we'd be better served just to develop out our hand and then sacrifice the clue. I'm going to go ahead and use the Greeting on the Galvanian Unhallowed. That card's going to become a problem for us. Although, granted, I guess if I draw a land, Alphas is just a great play. Still super confused as to why the opponent just skipped their first 2 turns. Alright. Yeah, again, just not going to do anything, going to play out the Alphas. And say what you got. What do you have, friend? Is it good? Does it do stuff? 3 mana. And Markov Crusader. All right. Well, now we start going off. We have access to a lot of tricks in hand. So I think we attack with Brazen Wolves and Assembled Alphas. And say, what do you have, opponent? If they don't block at all, I'll Greeting the Crusader. If they block just like this, we can actually do some... We can actually wipe their board here. So they're just blocking with the Ox on our Brazen Wolves. Now we're going to go ahead and Greeting to start things off on the Unhallowed, so that it doesn't get any counters. Then we're going to bombard the Inquisitor's Ox to finish it off. And then we can bombard the Crusader, which is now 3 damage because of the other Galvanic Bombardment. This way we play around a Ruthless Disposal, although if the opponent has the Descent upon the Sinful, yeah, that's really bad for us, obviously, but I think just wiping their board and not bothering to play around a Mythic is A-okay. Alright, and opponent's just going to scoop it up there. Really weird start. Our opponent skipped their first 2 turns. We got stuck on lands, and they were able to develop out. And then we drew Running Mountains and just killed everything. Let's run it back. See if we can win this last round. Alrighty, here for the final game. Or rather, no, game 2 of the 3rd round. We're just 1-1 right now, but this is a league event, so you get to play every round if you want to. We're on the draw, and we have a double removal hand, but no creatures. I think this is a keep on the draw. On the play, I had shipped this because I want action, but we're just going to have to hope our draw step rewards us with some good ones. Well, a creature was good. A double white creature that costs 5 was not so good. But again, I opted to take this risk, so that's on me. Lupine Prototype. Looks like our opponent wanted to mulligan as well. Well, we couldn't kill that if we really wanted to. Another mono removal hand here. Vampire Noble. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot that end of turn, in case we draw a 3-drop. Specifically, Brazen Wolves? That would be really nice. Would love to draw Brazen Wolves. Would love to draw another double red, or rather a double white card that costs more than 5. That's good too, right? No. No, the answer is no. Alright, big ol' ox, can't do anything about that. These have been some awkward draws. A plains! There's hope upon the horizon. Right, 5/5 is eventually going to do some work. Not today, though. Cultist staff, sure. But no mana to equip, that's good for us. I don't want to Fiery Temper and Bombardment the Ox. I think that's a little bit of a waste. I do want to draw a castable spell, though. This is so gross. Alright, I'm going to do it now that they went for the equip. That tells me their turn is not very good. They have nothing else to do but equip the Ox. Let's 2-for-1 ourselves to kill a 2/5. And then draw either alphas or a plains next turn. Alright, acceptable. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and Lunarch Mantle my Brazen Wolves right now, because we only have access to 1 white mana. That way, if I draw a white source next turn, we'll be able to play out one of our flyers. Diregraph Colossus, okay. Not exactly a card I was expecting. Need some synergies to make that card work, but here we are. And here we are drawing more mountains. Remember, we have, what, 8 mountains in the deck as opposed to 9 plains. Got our opponent on a nice 4-turn clock, though. With all these extra mountains, I can start giving my Brazen Wolves flying. These have been some really weird games, I am not gonna lie. Alright, as long as the opponent doesn't... Campaign of Vengeance? Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of that card. I don't think it's that great, but I do think it can be okay in some decks. Innkeeper's actually pretty good here, too. We know the opponent's been missing lands, and they've been stranded with a few cards in their hand this whole time, so... More importantly, it's something that I can actually just cast. Well, assuming the opponent doesn't attack here with their Diregraph, if I draw a Plains, we win. And of course, they don't kill any of my creatures or whatever. More importantly, we also took opponent off of 6 mana, so if they have a certain death, they're going to have to wait a turn to cast it, in which time they might just be dead. Cathar Shield? What in the world is going on? Double Cathar... Do you... Oh my. So they were just waiting until they could empty out their hand all in one turn? Oh, that's amazing. Alright, Lupine Prototype is online now. I assume they're going to attack with it. Which means we cannot... Oh, okay, so Plains wins here. That's not a Plains, but we can sacrifice a mountain to give our Brazen Wolves flying. And then kill them on the following turn. Oh, I am impressed. I love what the opponent's doing. Absolutely splendid. They need to find a removal spell next turn, otherwise they're dead. But if they draw Certain Death here, hey, they might just be back into the game. Certain Death killing my Brazen Wolves gives them Hellbent, means they can attack in. They gain a few more life from the triggers. Oh, but looks like that's going to be it, though. So, a really interesting league draft there. We only went 2-1, which only gives us 2 packs back. So, no trophy for us, but we had some fun. Again, I was playing a little bit fast there, just talking through my things really quickly, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that nonetheless. This format's kind of stagnated, which is why I was pretty happy to just get this out of the way. But looking forwards to Kaladesh, which will be online in just a few short weeks. And again, I will be doing some flashback drafts of like Scars of Mirrodin and whatnot in the coming weeks before Kaladesh releases online. For everybody here at Numot Gaming, or if you're checking out on YouTube, everybody here on YouTube for Numot Gaming, this is Kenji, aka Numatanami, signing out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this edition of Drafting with Numot, and we'll see you back next time. Take it easy.